Welcome to Over Totality. If you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe/add button so it appears on your feed. And if you're returning, welcome to the podcast. I'm Jay, your host for Over Totality. Let's get into the episode. Hold up. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are certain creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more big platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and make your podcast. Welcome back to Over Totality. Today is episode 4, you guys. We are officially, we're almost officially 1 month into our podcast. I mean, it kind of technically is, but if you look at the month, it's not just, okay. Anyways, ignore that. I might be factually wrong because I'm recording this a little earlier, so whatever. We're not gonna get that much into if it's been a month or not, but we've had 4 episodes, and there's one every week, and there's 4 weeks in a month, so I think that's 4, right? Anyways, so I actually have been enjoying recording these podcast episodes recently, just as kind of my outlet towards, just kind of talking about stuff. There's not a lot, there's just so much stuff that kind of comes, and you don't really know as the time goes on. And to be honest, when I originally planned today's episode that you're listening to, I planned about a week ahead of what I was going to just, have my ideas a little bit of what I was going to talk about. And, I had to scrap a lot of it because so much current event stuff came up that I was like, I cannot miss this. So we're going to talk about that all in today's podcast episode, as well as talking about the new Delta variant virus and all that type of stuff. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But before I just want to say, okay, I'm kind of proud that we have been going for the longer episodes. I don't know why, but just something about it. I'm going to slowly start going to 40 minutes. I don't know about this one, but we've been doing about 30-minute episodes averagely for the past 3 episodes. And so my goal is to get to an hour. I'm slowly evolving to being able to talk more about stuff. So, I try not to do a lot of planning or editing with the podcast episode, and so I keep it very minimum. I have a pre-recorded outro and intro and an ad for Anchor, but yeah. So I have this full setup, okay? I have kind of an outline of what I want to talk about today. I want to start with actually talking about Over Totality. So I've been seeing, the podcast community/industry kind of has been moving towards YouTube as well as posting their podcast episodes on YouTube. And I was like, that's not a bad idea, right? It's a good way to attract more audience. But what's different? What's going to be different on YouTube besides the factor, because I don't show my face, of course, and what I mean, it's just something over the top that I have to edit. So I decided that I'm gonna have Over Totality come to YouTube, but it's gonna just be you can listen it on YouTube, but you're just gonna stare at a thumbnail of just the episode. So I'll have, I guess, custom thumbnails just to make it a little less boring, but I guess we'll have it coming on YouTube. This probably next episode, it will be on YouTube by that time. But I'm very excited. I will talk more about that in the next episode once all these episodes are published on YouTube, and hopefully we can get more audience members to join on the discussion because, yeah. But that was my first thing that I wanted to get out of the way, just so we're done with that. But the next thing is also about the podcast, and that is segment plans. So I was told by when I started Tastic Talks, my old podcast, and I had some viewers, they were it was kind of like their segments that will be really nice and helpful and all that. So I'm thinking of segment ideas. I don't know because my episodes are super vague sometimes, and they just go from like something so tragic to something so like fantasy, related, like a book or something. So I don't know exactly how I'm gonna get this to work. But I have a couple of ideas I wanted to try, and I'll talk more about that in the next episode, as well as how the podcast is going to continue. So those are the two things I had to talk about the podcast. So out of that, now let's talk to far more important stuff that unfortunately took place. I think it's pretty out there by now, but there was a condo collapse that happened, which the exact date, I keep forgetting. What day did the condo collapse happen? It says... Okay, I am so sorry, but I forgot the exact day. My apologies. I do know the time was around 1:30ish in the morning when this actually took place. So there was a lot of people in that. Of course, it's a condo. It's at night, so there's probably more people. There's like let me rephrase it. There's rarely people who work at night and are at home at the day. So a lot of people are home, and well, when this happened, it was just a complete, mess. It just came down. Then there was, another part that was connected that also came down. It was just a whole mess. And they started with 100 people unaccounted for. And slowly it kind of turned a toll, and it went very tragic. So I don't exactly know the survivor count, because one news source was telling me there was 2 people they found that survived, and a lot of others are telling me no one has been found to be survived yet. So I'm not sure which one it is, but Inside Edition was talking about how a 12-year-old or something baseball player survived. So I'm going to take their word for it, but I guess people are surviving. So I'm grateful for that. It's kind of like a miracle. And as of June 28th, there was 11 people dead. I'm recording this podcast episode, by the way, on June 29th. So a lot of the numbers may change when you guys are listening to it. But during June 28th, 11 people were found dead. No survivors were found that particular day, at least. So 11 people is a lot from the bottom. But there's a lot of shrapnel, and there's a lot of debris, a lot of stuff that fell, and has probably caused a lot of just mess in general, and especially because the way the condo collapsed, it's very, just very hardening, because if you survive the fall, you might die from suffocating in all this pieces of just the condo. And it's very rare that you're going to survive, and it's very difficult to know the toll, and there's so many people who are just eagerly waiting to see if their family's alive or dead, or trying to get them prepared to know that, they're not going to make it. It's just a whole ton of emotions kind of going through, you have hope, but then you have this 90% chance that they might not be alive anymore. And it kind of is just mixing it in such a weird mixture, and I feel so bad. My heart goes out to all the people who, all the families and the people potentially that were involved in this, any shape, way, form. It's very sad to see that a lot of people are dying to this. So there was a lot of speculations over the reason. Was it a planned? Was it a mass, murder, I guess, in one sense? But it's been determined, I think, that one of the more realistic theories is that there was concrete cancer, and that's basically when the concrete is pretty weak, it's not built right, there's water, there's stuff is causing it not to be strong enough, and that's the reason it collapsed. It did collapse very similar, kind of fell straight. I was watching the video on the news the other day. It kind of fell straight. I don't know how to describe that, but it's kind of horrifying to look at. You're sleeping, you have no idea what's about to come. So I don't exactly know. they haven't released a full evidence of why it's happened, but they did talk about how there's a twin condo just built like that with the same amount of, structure and the same amount of material on, like, the close by, and, they're scared that that might fall. So, and they were just talking about how so many people living in the twin condo that did not fall, that, like, they're not planning on moving out because they feel safe. So it's kind of concerning, in my opinion. I would definitely not, if I was in that position, I would definitely leave ASAP. Like, I'm not taking my chances. But to be honest, I really can't say that until you're actually in that position, moving out and, like, all this. You have a lease. It's kind of annoying, but I understand why. So that was kind of crazy. That happened, and that was, like, the main event that was not in my plan, and it just kind of so happened to happen. And I was like, okay, we have to talk about this on the podcast, because I talk a lot about current events. I talk a lot about stuff that's happening around the world. So this was just something I thought was very vital to talk about in today's episode, and just to do a little, just a moment of silence, I guess, quickly to just address all those lives that were lost. Okay, so after we've talked about the condo collapse, the next thing we're going to talk about is the Delta virus. So there's it's not a virus, it's a variant to be exact, but it's a new variant of what's to be called COVID. It's like a variant of COVID, which is supposedly is more contagious and is just a different type of, like, variant. So they haven't talked too much about how it works with the vaccine, if the vaccine is going to protect us from this particular variant, but it is something that spreads 10 times faster, according to studies, 50 to 60% more transmissionable. The alpha variant, which was 50-60% more transitionable. So there is a lot of variants that happen, okay? A virus, it will mutate over time, and it either grows or it weakens, and we had an alpha variant, which was similar to the new one that came, which is the Delta variant, and these are very harmful in the original strain of COVID-19. So with this, a lot of states and a lot of areas are issuing a new mask order mandate that is mandatory to wear. The Delta variant cases particularly are rising at, like, Orange County right now, and it's kind of spreading, and there's a lot of states that have the lowest vaccine rates, up to 35% or lower, which are probably going to suffer this much, much more. So it's very important to get vaccinated, even though it might not work fully with this variant. It could potentially help more, like, it's still somewhat of a shield. You'd rather have something than nothing. But it's just a very chaos kind of thing. It's to be more deadly. I really, really hope it does not become more deadly, because we have been through too much to have to worry about another type of COVID coming back. It's very concerning and very, very not safe, but I think it's better to just still wear your masks if you're fully vaccinated, because it's very important to keep this contagious. It's better to be safe than sorry, and I would rather have everyone wear masks for 3-4 more months than to have to suffer another full year over this, because it's spread out of our hands. So it's very important. I know a lot of states are losing their mandate, and initially it's up to you if you want to or not, but thinking about what the future outcomes are, and thinking about last year, how everyone took it lightly at the start and it turned into this whole massive thing for a year and a half, I would really highly suggest you just stay and keep your precautions, wear your mask, take a shower when you come home, all this type of stuff, clean all your, like, articles of clothing, everything, just for the sake of protection and for the sake of just keeping everyone around protected, and just everyone, in general, to be protected. It's very, very dangerous to be containing this, and unfortunately a lot of people are dying from it, so I'm very, very sad to say, but hopefully it's not bad, and it's going to come to an end very soon. I hope it does, at least, because I was ready to just, start life back, and it's, we're working on it, hopefully, I guess, but it's very important. So, that's, one thing, but let's talk a little bit more about space. I think it's always important to talk about space, because every week they have something just new. So today we're actually going to talk about something interesting, because U.S. government's UFO reported stirs range of reactions, which on June 25th, on Friday, was when it was released, and they found or reported an unidentified flying object. And that's crazy to me. I don't know what it is. I legitimately have no idea what this is. But I see the picture, and it is crazy. There's it almost looks like a UFO. I'm not even lying, with like the little, the glowing thing that like comes down the UFO to kind of like capture someone up. It literally looks like that in this photo. But it's unidentified, and we don't really know what it is, but it's something. So I don't know if that makes me scared or excited to see there's more life that we don't know about, but it's definitely not, it's bittersweet, I think, because I don't know how these people that we don't know at all are. Space debris strikes space station again, and this caused more damage, so it's again kind of this like reoccurrence of just having our space clean, which unfortunately it's not fully clean, so we should get to that. I think we should. They were talking about black holes gobble up neutron stars, and the first evidence of a rare celestial event. So I'm more into space astrology, into more of the science behind it and how stuff works. I know a lot of people like the astrology of the myth, the superstitions, and I'm here for that too, so I'm here for both, but I really like a lot of the science we figure out from it, because it's really important that, we somehow figure it out. So, a next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was our Earth and our maybe future Earth. So, this was crazy to me, but I really decided to look for once on, wait one second. I decided to, for once, look into kind of just what our planet is, and how, everything's kind of happening. So, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit, sorry, I keep pausing, I'm like reading this quickly, but I wanted to talk about our Earth. Our Earth is something that we all technically have a privilege to live on. It's an amazing planet. It's habitable. We're so lucky to have a planet that is habitable for us to sustain life, or none of us would be here. And I think it's so sad that a lot of people on this planet Earth are taking that for granted, and we're going to, those particular people who are taking it for granted are going to cause future generations to suffer. So I want to take a moment to talk about our Earth and to protect it, because we only ultimately have one habitable Earth right now. And yes, I'm going to get someone saying like, oh, there's going to be one in the future we can go to, but who's going to take guarantee that we're not going to trash that Earth as well, and then we're going to have to look for another one, and, or the planets are not supposed to be like, oh, let's jump around, you need to sustain yourself and stay there. So, I have a feeling that in like about 100, 200 years, it's going to be like 3-4 Earths where people are going to divide and live on. It's going to be like, oh, let's go to Earth 2, everyone, to take a trip, It's going to turn into that. I can feel it. But until then, I really think it's important to know that we should stay in our one sustainable area, because global warming is a thing, and it's going to happen faster than your eyes will blink. We take a lot of stuff for granted, and habiting this such an amazing planet has a lot for us to say. And I read something about how Venus is gonna be one of the reasons we figure out how Earth is gonna end. or they refer Venus to Earth's evil twin. But it's kind of, I like to say, like, Venus and Earth are not similar, but Venus is like kind of like what Earth will become, in my opinion, if we don't take care of it. There was a space probe that reached there, and they find, like, remnants of planets, like, millions of years ago. So we assume that Venus was Earth one time, but something of that caused it to not be so Earth-like anymore. And, well, we're kind of suffering the consequences right now. So it's really important to keep our planet Earth safe, sound, and just really focus one more time on it and make sure we are not littering, we are recycling, we are not trying to waste up a lot of trash, and just make more environmental friendly decisions. And no, I'm not saying to, become 100% ego lifestyle person and, like, have zero amount of trash, because, to be honest, that's not a life that I'm trying to persuade. I'm trying to persuade us to make smart decisions that can save us in the long run, which that might be, just throwing recycling stuff in the recycling bin and not in the trash because you're lazy, or not, throwing trash in beaches or public areas for animals to die on, and to not, cut down so many trees and natural habitats that provide us, CO2 and carbon dioxide and oxygen. I just said that, but, what I mean. It's very important for us to work on that and maybe start implementing more environmental friendly areas to talk about, solar energy and other future ways we can still live the same life, just provide a better environmental Earth. I love what Tesla and a lot of electric car companies are doing about, stopping the oil and working with electricity to make Earth a better place. And so I think we ultimately all need to work together and make it a better place, because we all deserve this, and I think we all owe it to the future generations that have to come. I don't think anyone wants to be the reason that future generations have to suffer, potentially die from a crisis like this. Who thought that COVID was going to be a thing until it happened? No one's thinking about what's going to happen to Earth, but when it does happen, it's going to starve, like, everything. It's going to really hurt a lot of humans, and that's not even a pandemic, that's just a whole Earth problem. It's going to be an entire problem, which I guess is a pandemic, but you know what I mean. So it's really important to step up and really show your place and your responsibility for our planet Earth. But that's my spiel. I should have said this on Earth Day or something, but every day is an Earth Day, right? So make sure to do something good for our planet Earth today, tomorrow, and every single day that we're on this planet. So, yeah. But now I want to talk a little bit about my Harry Potter obsession. So, I read Harry Potter, I didn't read it. I watched all 8 of the movies last week. I watched all 8 of them in the span of about 6 days. So it was very good, okay? I was never a Harry Potter fan. I know what Harry Potter was. I just never read the books and never watched the movies. And then I'll always see these, like, geeks, geeking over Harry Potter and if they were Gryffindor or Hufflepuff, and I had no idea what those things were until now. But there was such, like, a fandom based over Harry Potter, and I had no idea how big it was until now. So I watched watched all 8 of the movies. I did not read the books. Am I planning on reading the books? I don't know. To be honest, I'm not the best, biggest reader fan, but we'll see. It was really good, I'll have to say that. But, the first movie, I loved every movie. It was so detailed, so prestige, so, the storyline was actually very good than I was expecting. And all the movies were really good. And I finally, figured out, Voldemort's and the Death Eaters, all these jokes that, people around me used to make about this movie, and I had no idea. I finally understand what those were meant. But I watched it, so it was really good. All the movies were my favorite. I think my favorite movie was probably the last one, the Deathly Hallows. Is it Deadly or Deathly? I don't know. It was one. Hallows Part 2. And I think my least favorite, I loved all of them, don't get me wrong, but if I had to say, one of the movies that I just have to like rank the lowest, I think that would have been Deathly Hollows Part 1. And I think that's the only reason. I love that Part 1 too. Love it just as much. But I think the only reason I'm giving the lowest is because it didn't have a lot of climax. And that's probably because that movie, that storyline was split into 2 parts, like 2 movies. So, of course, the second movie was going to have all the climax and action and all that type of stuff. When the first movie was just kind of introducing all that stuff. But came to the first part also had a lot, but the second part was just out of the world. I was just wowed with all the battles and Voldemort finally defeating Harry, and then come to realize that he never did in the first place. And also finding out, this might be a spoiler, but I assume you've probably watched the movies. It's been like 10 to 11 years since the last one came out. But that, there was a Horcrux, which is basically like dark magic that was put on Harry. A part of Voldemort lived in Harry. So I thought that was like the biggest plot twist in my mind, was like, wow, so Harry is Voldemort, part of it. But it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. And no, I'm not like a full head-on geek over this. I know. I feel like I was going to be, but I'm not. I'm not like a super like wow Harry Potter, like I'm this and that. It was a good movie. It's something that I'm not gonna geek over though. Like I'm just talking about my experience, but there's people who they're like it's super important that they know like every detail about the book and the movies. I'm not that type of person, but it was good. Okay, it was pretty good. I liked it. So that was my thoughts on Harry Potter. But next I want to talk about... What was the next thing I want to talk about? Oh yeah, I want to talk about a little more of my documentary, which is going to be... Let me see, when is this episode coming out? This episode's gonna come out... Oh, okay. As this episode is releasing, you guys, is when the documentary is also out. So, if you haven't watched the first part of the documentary, I highly suggest you go watch it because it's good. It took me a long time. I hate to tell you this, but yes, I'm still working on the second part. I'm not close to the third and fourth. But I planned it so that, the first one's up, and that first week of it being up, I'll be able to finish the second, and the second will be up, and the second week I'll have the third, and then when the third comes out, the third week I'll have the fourth done. So hopefully we'll go by that plan, but I'm very excited, you guys. I'm very, very excited for you guys to watch it. And all I have to say is the third and the fourth one are going to be very big, different. Like, there's a new soundtrack that I'm introducing in the third and the fourth, so it adds a different vibe. I love the music in that, though. It was just wonderful. Everything was amazing with that. And so I was very, very highly impressed, actually. I was very impressed to think about that I could pull off a documentary, or I shouldn't jinx it yet, but you know what I mean, like, it's coming, hopefully soon, something, why not, maybe. But I've also been kind of looking for some, like, movie suggestions, so if you have any, and you would like to tell me, you can leave a voice note, because I would like to watch movies, more movies. I was told I watched Percy Jackson movie. The Lightning Thief is, I think, the only one I watched in that series. So I might continue watching some more of those. Or we could watch The Lord of the Rings I haven't watched. So something I will watch and I can review in the next coming episodes, I guess. I'm still debating if I want to do 2 episodes per week in the month of July. When you're watching this, it's gonna be July, so I might not have it this July. I've just been really busy with my documentary and stuff, so maybe not this particular month. Maybe we'll do it 2 episodes, like 2 per week episode month, a different month. I feel like, though, for December, I'm gonna do, like, the, whenever episodes come out time, like I did that with Tastic Talks. Like, you might see 3 episodes a week, you might not see an episode 1 week. Like, it's just kind of like, just an episode shower. Usually I will have more than 4 episodes in that month, so I think we could do that. That would be cool. What else would be cool? I don't know. There's so much cool stuff that we could do. But let me know your ideas for the following months. What should I do? Also, just like different types of topics we could talk about. I'm open to a lot of stuff that is PG friendly, so that everyone can watch it, because that's our entire motto, right? Everyone can watch or listen to the podcast at least. What else? Let's just search up, some current news. There's a lot of YouTube drama that's currently happening. I'm not going to address any of it because this is not what my podcast is about, but a lot of YouTube drama recently, like with a lot of YouTubers. Just, it's kind of like, it's growing on growing. But, I feel like everything is just, it's kind of like, finally, I feel like, working somehow, but the YouTube drama is just out of the world, and I've been, just a lot of stuff has happened, okay, with YouTube, and I'm just gonna not talk about the rest. If you probably will know, because it's super big, but, what can we talk about? I feel like we should talk more about, like, something super big that, reached headlines. But I feel like, what's the point of talking about a lot of stuff that already people probably know about? So hopefully we'll have like segments and stuff eventually, and that'll fill up our episodes a little more, and we can talk more about it. But I am kind of excited because I'm definitely working on some YouTube content after my podcast my documentary's out. I have a lot of YouTube content. I haven't been active on YouTube for a little bit, and that's just because I've been working on podcasting, and I've been working on the documentary. I will have a posting schedule coming after post-July. I will have a posting schedule, probably like 2 videos a week, and then 1 episode of podcasting a week. So you get about like 3 content stuff from me every week. And I'll try to make them on different days so that they don't all come the same day. So I would think like maybe Saturday or Mondays and Saturdays we'll have like a video that comes up, and then on Friday we can have the podcast EP come out. Or I was very into changing the podcast date from Fridays to Wednesdays because it's the middle of the week, so it's kind of smart, because if you have your episode coming towards the end of the week though, I feel like I can get the entire week's highlights and put them in, an episode. If it's in the mid, then it's kind of like, I have to take from, like, part of last week and part of this week and put them in one. So it's just a little more clear shot, but I'll see. And you guys can let me definitely know if you guys have, in particular, something you want. But that's just how my brain works, is Fridays is just so I can kind of capture a lot of the stuff I've talked about and a lot of stuff that happened. But you guys let me know, okay? You guys play a big part in podcasting. So my plan is, after the documentary, because in August I'm going to be in school, so it's going to be, my life is going to be busy. So, sorry, I just had like a hiccup. My goal would to be a little more planned, and I'll have like 2 videos and a podcast episode, or it might just be 1 video and 1 podcast episode. I'm kind of leaning towards that if I want to work on like that video to be like the best, like the most edited and the best. I think I'll probably just do 1 video and 1 episode, or it might be 2 depending on my time. But I don't know right now, but just expect at least 1 video a week now and 1 podcast episode starting August, but there might be more. I'm working on that. I'm primarily focused just on the documentary and getting some episodes out for you guys, but once that happens, I think we could definitely do other stuff. Speaking of, my videos have been doing better lately. They've been getting more than the average views, and we also, like I said, hit 100 plus subscribers now, and that's crazy to think about. But my most popular video that was at 3K like a couple of days ago is now at 3.4K, so we got 400 views like just in a couple of days, which I think is crazy. I really do think it's kind of the time that my channel is taking a little more off, so I'm very excited. But I did a recent, actually, my latest video was about me reacting to my most popular YouTube video, which was the reading video, the top 3 reading websites. So that was kind of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of different from my content, but I really liked it. And after geometry ending, I have less stuff on my schedule, professionally, so That's kind of balancing it out a little bit. And I was just looking at statistics the other day, and I saw that like a lot of my Notability videos are doing really well. I did two. I did Notability app review, and then I did Notability Mac app review, and both of them did really good. Like they hit, pretty big highs. My Elise video did really good. I had like a lot of other review stuff I did that did pretty good. You know, so I'm very, very excited to continue. And if I have a podcast channel on YouTube where I put these episodes on, I will definitely let you guys know in the next episode. I'll probably have my mind determined if I want it there or not. So I was kind of, just, it might be happening, it might not yet. I don't know. I do know though, but I'm gonna think one more time before I actually officially do it or not. But yeah, so I've been having a lot of fun with all that stuff, and I've been very busy. So if you guys were wondering why I have not posted on the podcast, that was the reason. Also, I wanted to say one more thing. Episode 3 did not come at 9 a.m. Eastern Central Time, and the reason was that, no, I was not lazy. I had the episode ready like a week ahead, but I was not a week ahead, it was like a couple of days ahead. But what happened was, you can schedule the episode so when it needs to come out, and I scheduled it for 9 p.m., not a.m. So I was just throughout the day. That was the day after I got my vaccination shot, so I was kind of like out of it too. I was very tired, so I wasn't checking. Like, I didn't pay attention. Otherwise, I usually have an email or like a notification that comes to me saying that your episode went live. But I wasn't paying attention throughout the day. I was just kind of, sleepy and tired and stuff. So around like 1 o'clock, was it 1 o'clock? I don't remember the exact time. I can check, but around, let's see, what time was it? I don't know why the time plays an important part, but I guess it does. So the time that it came out was, oh dear. I love how I'm like so focused on this time right now. It came out at 1:48 p.m. So I was just really like tired and stuff, so I didn't realize, but around like 1:48 p.m. I guess, I just checked the podcast to see how I was doing, and it was not published. I didn't check it on Anchor, I checked it on Apple Podcasts, and so I couldn't find it there, so I was like, oh, that's strange, is it just not syncing today or something? So I went on Anchor, and I looked, and it was not published. So I was like, so I published it around 1:48 p.m. So it came out late, but I just had it at 9 p.m. instead of 9 a.m. So that's why it caused there to be no episode for like the first, how much time? Almost like 5 hours and 48 minutes, a little higher, maybe 6 hours and 48 minutes, I can do math right now. I don't know why. It's been a while, but yeah, so that's kind of all that stuff that has been happening with the podcast. I was just really tired the next day, but godly I found it before it hit 9 p.m. because then it was just going to be like completely late. It would have been just completely, yeah. But that was one thing, and the other thing that I was laughing about was the other day, I had videos, like I had some pre-recorded videos that I recorded a while ago. This was, I'll say, when I took my big, 4-month break, after Shoutout Wall. I had, no, it wasn't a 4-month break, it was, 2-3-month break, I guess, actually. I had pre-recorded videos that I recorded, I just did not edit, and I was going back at it, and one of the videos was reacting to the most popular YouTube video. But it was so, I recorded so old that actually that time my most popular video was something else. So I had to re-record the video though. I just got the idea again. I was like, oh yeah, we can do that again. But I had to redo the footage. That was one of the videos. Another one was me doing a Notability app review, but back that time it was not updated like the way it was now. So I was like, there's no point of keeping this. So I just deleted all that footage and I redid a lot of the video ideas, but I remembered that I had some stuff that I was going to post. I just never got it. It was in my hard drive, so I didn't have it on. So I was like, I just was browsing one day through it, and I was like, oh wow, I had stuff that we had to do, but I decided not to do them. So I thought that was weird. But yeah, What else? Really desperate to hit the 40-minute mark, and we're at 39 minutes plus. So what else can we talk about? To be honest, I've really been enjoying Over Totality and recording the podcast episodes. I feel so, just like a lot of stuff. It's much easier. I don't have to like write a script and then I have to edit the podcast episode. I really like the feeling of a natural episode and just kind of flowing through. It feels better to me, and it feels more entertaining to me. And it just feels better. Alongside with, I know I was gonna bring on some guests to the podcast eventually, and I'm very, very excited for them to come. But it's gonna come a little later. I'm just very busy right now. And speaking of my podcast setup, yes, I am working on a podcast setup, a better one. I do have like a mic and I have a monitor, kind of recording and all that. But I am working on a better podcast setup. And something else I was asked was my audio content is much better. So what I did is, I used to record through Anchor, and now I actually record through Voice Memos, which is a like an Apple default app, I guess you get. So I record through that, and that's what I use. And so the audio is better, and then I just transport that to Anchor. It does take some time to upload, and then you can put it on, and it works just like it never did ever before, right? So I think that's it, you guys. We've reached the 40-minute mark. I'm so happy because I said I wanted now episodes to be 40 minutes. So hopefully this was enough time for you guys to listen to. I really hope you guys have a wonderful day, and let's roll that outro now. Alright guys, I hope you had a nice episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go and check out my socials on Instagram and Twitter at Only Study Center, as well as the official Twitter or Instagram handle for this podcast, Over Totality. While you're there, make sure you go and check out my YouTube channel as well, which has a lot of great content offering for you guys. And stay safe, have fun, and just enjoy life to the fullest. I'll see you guys next time for a new episode of Over Totality. Goodbye.